They lied to you about consistency. They told you it's about motivation. They told you it's about willpower. They told you it's about discipline. They told you it's about being strong every day. That's not the secret. The real secret is darker, quieter, colder, more brutal. Consistency isn't built on intensity. It's built on identity. Because motivation burns hot, then dies fast. Discipline feels powerful until life hits. Willpower feels strong until pressure breaks it. But identity doesn't negotiate. Identity doesn't argue. Identity doesn't feel. Identity just acts. That's why consistency always wins. Not because it's loud, but because it's relentless. Not because it's exciting, but because it's automatic. Not because it's heroic, but because it's boring. Let me tell you the truth. The people who win don't work harder than everyone else in one day. They just refuse to stop. They don't explode. They don't sprint. They don't chase hype. They walk. They grind. They repeat. They return. Every day. Every storm. Every season. Every emotion. You don't beat the world with power. You beat it with pressure. Like water through rock. Not force. Friction. A lion doesn't become king because it roars louder. It wins because it hunts every day. A soldier doesn't become elite in one battle. He becomes elite in training yards no one sees. A storm doesn't reshape land in one night. It does it through repetition. And you? You keep waiting for the perfect mood. The perfect time. The perfect energy. The perfect motivation. But consistency doesn't care about your mood. It doesn't care if you're tired. It doesn't care if you're sad. It doesn't care if you're unmotivated. It doesn't care if you're inspired. It only asks one question. Did you show up? Because the secret is this. Consistency isn't heroic. It's mechanical. It's not emotional. It's structural. It's not passion-driven. It's system-driven. Winners don't rely on feelings. They rely on standards. They don't ask, do I feel like it? They ask, is this who I am? And that shift changes everything. Because now you're not trying to be consistent. You are consistent. Not forcing discipline. Living discipline. Not chasing structure. Being structure. Not hunting habits. Becoming habits. This is where most people fail. They try to build consistency with motivation. But motivation is fire. Fire burns fast. Fire dies fast. Consistency is coal. Slow burn. Long burn. Unstoppable burn. It doesn't look impressive. It doesn't look exciting. It doesn't look cinematic. It looks boring. Early mornings. Late nights. Empty gyms. Silent rooms. Unseen work. Unclapped effort. No applause. No validation. No recognition. Just you. The work. And the choice to return. Over and over. And over. And over. And here's the part they never tell you. Consistency doesn't change your results first. It changes your identity first. Before your life changes, you change. Before your money changes, you change. Before your body changes, you change. Before your status changes, you change. You start seeing yourself differently. Not as someone who tries, but someone who shows up. Not as someone who starts, but someone who finishes. Not as someone who hopes, but someone who executes. That's the real secret. Consistency is self-trust. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, your mind gets stronger. Every time you don't quit, your identity hardens. Every time you return when it's boring, your character grows. And slowly, quietly, silently, you become dangerous. Not loud dangerous. Not arrogant dangerous. Not flashy dangerous. Disciplined dangerous. Reliable dangerous. Stable dangerous. Unshakable dangerous. You become the man who doesn't stop. The man who doesn't drift. The man who doesn't disappear. The man who doesn't collapse under pressure. The man who doesn't break under boredom. Because boredom is the real enemy. Not fear. Not failure. Not struggle. Boredom. The repetition. The sameness. The monotony. The routine. This is where weak minds die. Because they need excitement to move. They need emotion to act. They need hype to function. Strong minds don't. They move in silence. They execute in calm. They operate in routine. They grow in repetition. They understand something powerful. Consistency compounds. Not in days. In months. Not in weeks. In years. Not in moments. In decades. It's invisible at first. Like a seed underground. No sound. No signal. No sign. Then one day. Breakthrough. People call it luck. People call it talent. People call it timing. People call it genetics. They didn't see the winters. They didn't see the droughts. They didn't see the isolation. They didn't see the repetition. They didn't see the thousands of boring days. But you did. You were there. And that's why consistency always wins. Not because it's fast, but because it's inevitable. If you don't stop, you will win. If you don't quit, you will grow. If you don't drift, you will evolve. If you don't fold, you will rise. Not because you're special, because time is undefeated. Pressure is undefeated. Repetition is undefeated. And here's the final truth. Consistency isn't about doing more. It's about not stopping. Not stopping when it's boring. Not stopping when it's slow. Not stopping when it's quiet. Not stopping when it's lonely. Not stopping when no one cares. Not stopping when nothing is happening. Because something is always happening. Inside you, your mind is being trained. Your identity is being built. Your standards are being forged. Your discipline is being hardened. Your character is being shaped. You're becoming someone new. Someone stable. Someone reliable. Someone disciplined. Someone unbreakable. And that man doesn't need motivation. He moves because it's who he is. That's the secret they never told you. Consistency isn't something you do. It's something you become. If this message lit a fire in you, then it's time to act. Drop this in the comments right now. I am built by consistency, so that I know you stayed all the way till the end, and you will become unstoppable through repetition.